Hello and welcome back to Making It podcast. It's been a busy week. We're here for episode 5. We're already 5 episodes in, 5 weeks of podcast. It's gone so quick from the moment we were in that cafe with the little pucker pad, talking about what we want to do. But it's been a good week. We've kind of struggled to get a recording time for this, and it's my fault because the time difference is crazy and I've been knackered. But Dan, first of all, good to have you for episode 5. How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good. It's nice to be back. Just for context, Jamie's in Australia, so that's what he means by his knackered. We tried to do it last night or this morning for me, but last night for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm good. It's been a nice week, nice chill week. I finished with my exams with uni, and then I'm going back next week into my schedule and things. But been very chill. I've had a really nice day today. Just been to the cinema to watch the new Bob Dylan film. I can't remember what it's called, like The Unknown something. I can't quite remember. It's got Timothy Chalamet in it, but it was really good. I'm going to start listening to his music now. But how was your journey to Australia and how's things been? What you've been up to since you've been there?
The journey is like nothing I've ever experienced. Like, I mean, we flew with like Emirates, so it was good. Like, I think the airline was good, and obviously they feed you and stuff when you're on the plane because it's a long haul flight. But the 6.5 hours to Dubai was pretty easy. But it's that 14 hours from Dubai to Sydney. It's just like,
yeah, that's heavy.
It's heavy, and also 6 of those hours of the 14 is just Australia, like from one point to the other. So yeah, it's mad. We did that flight, and then we got to Sydney at about 7 a.m. I think. Just got there nice and early. We had to wait an hour and a half in the baggage drop because there was a strike for the baggage staff, and then got to the hotel and I'm like, oh, I feel great. And then mate just crashed. I was like, oh my god. I was in bed and I just fell to sleep for like 6 hours.
Yeah, how's the jet lag then?
It was bad. Like the first day or two, I felt really, really not so good. The first day in Sydney was a complete write-off. The second day, we woke up and I'm like, nah, I feel even worse today. Had a shower and I felt okay. Went and had some breakfast. They've got this thing called acai, which is like a berry that grows on palm trees.
Oh, yeah.
And they put it like a frozen acai yogurt with like coconut, bananas and all that. So I've been drinking.
That's lovely, man.
Right, it is so nice. Honestly, it is my dream. And then I've had a coffee, and then we flew to Gold Coast yesterday. And my mum's friend who was no espresso. There's been not a single one yet. The coffee out here is so nice that I want a big thing of it. But I think this week I'll have one, probably tomorrow, which is Monday, which is not even that far away really in terms of the time here. But if I know it's only 8:30 now. Is it? Wait, so what day are you on now? Is it Monday? Oh shit! Pardon me. It's Monday today.
It's Sunday night for me.
It's so mental that it's Monday like now. It's 8:30 at the time of recording for me, and it'd be what, 9:30 for you?
9:30 Sunday evening, yeah.
9:30 Sunday evening. So, but yeah, we flew up from Gold Coast in a little plane, and then only took an hour. It was like a tiny plane.
How little, mate?
I mean,
it's two of you in it.
Well, it's not like a 2-person plane. You get what I mean? But yeah, and then my mum's friend picked us up, and she's got this massive 8-person Nissan that she just bought. This 8-person seating Nissan. It's insane. And we drove up to Byron Bay, where I'm staying now. And mate, I think that every podcast episode we've done, everything we've covered, has been the experience and the feeling I've got here.
Wow.
I've got really good things, but I've got concerns. But I kind of want to bring that into the podcast, like being really comfortable. I feel really comfortable. I feel like this is a bit homely, and actually being here and not having any work or anything has helped me to appreciate and be grateful and have gratitude for the things that I have now. And also learning just to slow down a bit. This has helped me slow down. I just relaxed. I'll just go out in the garden and you just listen to the birds and stuff, and just the little things that you don't actually appreciate, like you just appreciate here. So this has taught me something, just to slow down and appreciate stuff. It's also taught me that I need a handheld fan all the time because it's roasting. So
I always find that with travel, I always find whenever you travel, there's always something new you take back. And I heard Heisenberg from Breaking Bad. What's the actor called again? Sorry, I always forget.
What, of Walter White?
Yeah,
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, I remember him saying like traveling is just so amazing because every time you travel, it's almost like you add like a new layer to yourself, and it's very interesting in that way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think living here forever would be hard because it's that good. Like, and I almost want to be somewhere where there's a bit of challenge and things aren't so great all the time. And I like to be in a position where it's like, God, I'm in a bad position right now. I need to work my way up again. Whereas this is it's just mental. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
warm. It's like everyone's nice. Everyone's nice. Like,
yeah. I've heard that before. It's an interesting dynamic because one of my best mates from uni, Noah. Obviously, I've told you before, but for the listeners,
mm,
he lived in Australia for about half his life. And I love it in Newcastle, but he compares Newcastle to Australia. And he says, like what you're saying, in Australia, everyone says hello. It literally is like almost like a promised land. Do you know what I mean? So it's very interesting because you're saying you almost couldn't live there forever because there is no struggle. But I guess that's where it's different for every individual. But Noah's always thinking to himself, "Oh, I wish I was back in Australia just because of how good it is out there." I mean, I would love to go there one day just to see what it's like. But it's interesting what you say about needing struggle. I mean, it would be amazing. Like when you're out there, see if you can speak to some of the locals and ask them and bring it to the podcast. Ask them, how do you find it out here? I compare back to England, and maybe it's because this is what you're used to. But everyone seems so amazing here. Like it seems like paradise. How do you deal with that? See if you can. See if you can. That's your challenge, mate. See if you can ask a local
okay.
about that. How they find it, because maybe for them there is a struggle, but you don't know that because you're not a local. It's paradise to you, but maybe not paradise to them. So see if you can find that out from a local.
Yeah, but do you know what? That is 100% true because like a lot of these guys grew up around here, so they've known nothing different. And I've only been here 4 days, so like I'm not going to know the struggle of like people living here after being here for 4 days. I've seen all the things that you're meant to see as like a tourist. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I went to I can't remember the name, but I went to a national park this morning to watch sunrise at 6 a.m. I'm never up that early, which is possibly because of jet lag still, but it doesn't really matter. Being here has got me to do things that I don't usually do, and again appreciate different things. But like Noah, like he was here for a long time. I think while I would like that challenge, again, there's probably challenge here, but I'm on holiday, so I'm not going to experience. When I come for a year in June, I would like to think I'm going to experience a bit of a challenge there. But it's all about balance in life, isn't it? And I think like with Newcastle, that felt very homely for me the first time I came up to see you, because even though it isn't home, and it was the first, the second time I'd been there in my life, um, there was something about the kind of the culture around Newcastle, the sort of the way that society operates in terms of just how people, look at and view life. I think a lot of places in the north are like that. Do you know what I mean? Like Manchester and Newcastle and all these places are a very sort of tight community. Um, embedded in like tradition, and they've got a very good music culture and kind of going out culture. And it's similar to here in terms of like everyone's out for a coffee in the morning, walking the dog, and that's just nice. Do you know what I mean? That's really nice. And I said to my mum, I would love to just stay here. You know what I mean? You can just leave me here and just take someone else back with you because I just don't want to go. But yeah, it is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I've got a few takeaways from this week that I want to dive into.
Go for it.
And the first one, I think this is something that's really been clicking with me lately, is increasing the quality of my connections rather than the quantity. And that goes
Mm,
for a lot of things. That goes for, let's take the example of networking. You know, I was in a stage in my first year at uni where everything was about, okay, how can I increase my connections? How many more can I get? Now I'm in a position where I'm feeling like I want to increase the quality of those connections. How can I talk to those connections more often, meet up with them more often? And I'm taking that into my friendships, my family as well. I've started to notice like maybe potentially when I go home, I'm rushing about and I'm seeing everyone, maybe not try to see as many people, but see certain people more, refining it down, like I spoke about in the last podcast towards the end, surrounding myself with people who really care for me. So that's almost been a bit of a light bulb moment for me this week. I want to increase the quality of my friendships and my connections rather than the quantity. Can you understand that? Almost how you can get carried away with networking, can't you? With almost, I want to connect with everybody. And it was you that recommended I do a network mime up. And it's where I realized, you know what? I've got more than I thought I did. And
mm,
I'm sure if I wrote down all the people who I deem as friends, there'll be a lot more there than I thought they did, because it's not really a number you see every day. You kind of forget you've got a good amount of people, and I'm starting to realize that a lot more. Have you ever thought about that, or what's your takeaway on that?
Yeah, I think it's important not to view people as a number, because you become desensitized to what we are. Do you know what I mean? We are living things with our own personalities, our own views, and our own perspectives. That is the whole point of this podcast. We're two mates with different perspectives, and as soon as you start to see people as sort of a number or a time in your day or a part of your schedule, you don't realize that they're someone that not necessarily could help you with things, or offer you something in terms of a physical or sort of like non-tangible sort of asset to your life. But there's someone that could just be your mate. Like that's not a quantifiable thing by number. And I think that's so important. It's like when people say you're my best friend, and then someone goes, you're my mate. And it's like, well, why is there a ranking system? Why is there a hierarchy
Yeah, that's
within your
true, man.
sort of
That's true.
view of friendships? Like, why can't you just have a mate and be like, hey, you're a good mate of mine? And that's just that. Just appreciate it for what it is. But people don't do that. And look, we all have moments like where you're like, hey, should we go for a coffee? Sure, but I've only got half an hour. And you're like, oh, okay, right, that half an hour's got to go to them. And it's like, you should only see your friends if you want to see them. Do you know what I mean? It should be a meaningful thing. Like going for a coffee, I get that. It isn't everyone's thing. Some people like to go for a beer. Some people like to just call. Like we'll just call sometimes. But yeah, you shouldn't put friendships as a numerical value, whether that be time or the quality of it. It's just a mate. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
try and just enjoy and appreciate that experience with them, and don't look at the time. Obviously we're all constrained by things because that's the way that modern life is. But don't just view a friendship as that sort of that line in your diary. That's really important. So, and also sometimes it's just nice to not look at the clock. Do you know what I mean? When you're just spending time with people, I think that's another thing that I'm enjoying here, because I don't really check the clock. A, because it will make me tired, but B, because you should just appreciate those moments. And I'm in a position where I'm not working right now, and I'm just relaxing. So why not take advantage of that? But anytime you've got time to just spend with friends, make the most of it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's interesting what you said there about the different perspectives as well, because sometimes I'll hear what a close mate says, and sometimes I don't want to, like, sometimes it may be political, or, I'm not going to talk politically on here, but and sometimes you think to yourself, like, oh, do I really have a mate who thinks like that? Or something. I'm starting to realize now, like, I wouldn't drop that person as a mate because they have a different perspective on something. Maybe if they said something outrageous, I'll be like, look, like, make them aware of something. But I'm starting to understand as well, like, you can have different opinions to people. You can disagree with your closest mates. Like, I don't know, it's not been like a massive thing I've thought about, but at times, sometimes you think like, oh, your closest mates should be the people who, you align certain values with, and obviously they are, but maybe you will have different standpoints. A big thing about this podcast we do is two friends, two perspectives. We're two close mates, but we can disagree. And I think disagreeing with people is difficult because, and I think as humans, we do struggle with conflict. I know personally I'm really bad for it. I don't like confrontation. I don't like getting in conflict with people. So if I disagree with someone, I can find it quite hard to then like let them know I disagree in a way. But yeah, that was just something interesting that I thought of as well. More like you can have within your friendships, you can have people you disagree with, but still be close mates with. And then another thing I've took from this week, which I briefly spoke to you about, and it's really interesting to me. It's the idea of, I'm not gonna label them as negative emotions because they're not negative, but stress, worry, anxiety, fear, you have these sort of emotions we all kind of run away from. And I know I've spent a lot of my time running away from these kind of emotions, especially when I was younger. I tried to avoid them. Maybe there was an awkward conversation I wanted to have with a mate, but you try and avoid it. And I'm really starting to understand that these emotions like fear, that's probably a great example of it, is you can't run away from them because they're never going to leave you. It's about using them, using them in the right way. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you feel anxious, awkward, or you've got like a big overwhelming fear or something and you've avoided it. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm understanding that there's a way to use that sort of emotion. Have you ever had like a certain example of running away from that sort of emotion at all?
Probably in the past, not taking opportunities. And these things were probably born out of me not backing myself. The public speaking thing for someone like me who has done public speaking and commentary and podcasts and all sorts for years, for like 4 or 5 years now. That still scares me now. I still sometimes run away from things. If I'm offered an opportunity, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. I'm just too nervous. But you do have to sort of face these things head on, and it's easy enough to say because there's a lot of things that I sort of fear doing or would rather not do, or I'm like a bit worried to do. Like if someone wants advice from me, sometimes I struggle to give advice on stuff that I do, or even in general, just like life advice, because I haven't experienced a lot of life yet. I can't give relationship advice. I haven't got a girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? I don't get that. I mean, I can try. Do you know what I mean? But I can't give it. And like there's a lot of sort of, especially with advice, because I don't want to give someone the wrong advice, and I worry. I'm like, oh my god, what if I give someone the wrong advice, or what if I tell someone the wrong thing? And you just have to sit back and be like, look, at the end of the day, you only know what you know. You can only do what you can do, and you shouldn't let sort of like the anxiety of things get to you with stuff like that. And there's loads of things that I'm fearing. Like now I'm here, I'm fearing coming back in June because I'm nervous being here because I'm all the way away from home. Like not being able to just pop out and see my mates, or like sometimes even call them because of the time of day. It's just like I'm scared. But you just got to go for it. Like I just know I've just got to throw myself in the deep end and go for it. And when I get home, there's things I want to achieve, like with football coaching and scouting. I sometimes sort of doubt my ability, and I've been given the opportunity to do a session or something like that. I've shied away from it because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But what am I putting in the hard work for? Why do I watch videos of coaching? Why do I read books? Why do I listen to speeches and try and get on webinars and stuff? Why do I do that? If I don't, why do I put all that time and effort in for me to then go, oh, I don't know if I can do this? What's the point? What's the point? I work hard for what I want to do. If I want to achieve something, I'll give everything to it. But that last part where you've actually got to go and show people what you can do, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is too much. This is too much. And even though the people that I coach, they're like, 15 for Beeston FC, like doing that first session, I was like, oh my God, don't back myself at all. But if you want to be somewhere, if you want to be someone, you want to be unique and you want to stand out and put all that hard work to the actual, to the test, you just got to break down that wall, that barrier of anxiety, you know what I mean, and back yourself. And it's the imposter syndrome thing as well. We've spoken about loads, which kind of comes into it. But what about you? Is there sort of like a lot of instances where you have that fear and anxiety with stuff?
Great question. Before I go into that, I just want to pick on something you just said there. And I think that idea of you feeling like you can't give advice because maybe you're not a certain age, or maybe you're feeling with the scouting or the coaching, you don't feel qualified in a way. I've just got to say, trust your value. I know someone who is a sports psychologist at a club. He works in the academy, and I said to him, like, how do you deal with imposter syndrome? And he just said, I just trust my value. I put in the work. I trust myself to be in this position, so I trust others can trust me as well. It's really important to trust your value because it's very easy to run away with your thoughts thinking, well, I've not got the experience other people have. But, you mentioned the relationship. I know you said you're not been in a relationship, but there's been times I've brought to you issues with my relationship, and speaking to you has really helped me. Just because you're not qualified doesn't mean you can't give your advice. It's still important to give people that awareness of what you're saying. So trust your value. Probably the first example that comes to my head related to sport is when I used to do athletics. I used to get really nervous about even going to training because I knew it was going to be such tough work. Like, for context, I used to run for Notts AC back in Nottingham, an athletics club. I did it for 5 years. And, I used to get nervous for the weekly sessions and especially competitions. And, sometimes it would never happen, but sometimes I'll get in my head like, oh, I wish I could kind of wake up maybe like a little bit ill so I can't go, or, You know, I never really got that deep, but sometimes you'll have the odd thought like that. And it's almost like I just didn't want to do it. And I still did. And that's a great thing. I still went and put myself in that position. And it's like what you're saying about Australia, you know, that fear of going to Australia, you know, you're feeling it. Realistically, we can both agree that's where growth occurs. If you're not feeling those emotions, you're not growing. If you are comfortable, you're not growing. And if you're comfortable, you're not feeling those emotions. You know, that's where you have to learn to coexist with them. And that's the big thing I've been learning. Don't run away, but coexist. Is there anything since you've been to Australia, while you've been flying, maybe like a little thing you thought that you wanted to bring to the podcast for this week's episode? Anything which kind of hit your light bulb in a way? Also, as well, please, can you tell the listeners about this parrot thing, mate? When you sent me a message saying that you got bombarded by parrots, I was creasing. What do you mean you got bombarded by parrots?
We got into Sydney, and like we were walking down the road. We'd just been dropped off in the taxi, and we got in the hotel, checked in, and I checked the whole room for spiders because I'm still like nervous. I've not seen one yet. I've not seen a single spider, small or big. You know, I'm not looking forward to the first one because, for context, where I'm living, they have big huntsman spiders, the biggest other than the Goliath bird eaters. But anyway, we were in Sydney, walking down the road, and it was probably like lunchtime. No. It was about 5 o'clock. So we went to sleep at lunchtime, and I just remember walking down this street, and all you could hear was parrots. I think they're actually parakeets.
Talking parrots.
No, not talking one. They weren't saying
mate. Imagine them getting bombarded by parrots and they can all speak English, and everything you say they start saying.
Yeah, like
like
what
a
are you doing, mate?
dream,
Right? What? Yeah, it was weird. Like they were flying from tree to tree, and there was just loads of them all above us. Like, and it was almost like they were following you. Obviously, they weren't, but there was just so many. And then they've got these things called bin chickens, right? Which is it's actually called an ibis. So if you ever get the chance, look up what an ibis is. It's got white feathers. It's like it's almost got like a chicken's body in a way, but really long legs and a big it's got like a black head with a really long beak. And they call them bin chickens because honestly, it's so funny. And seeing them on first, I was like, what the hell's that? It's an ibis. And it just had this massive beak, and it's just like trying to get people's food and stuff. But yeah, there was so many birds, and I was just like, what even is this place? It was overwhelming because I was like, what is this? Like, what is this place that's just full of it looked like the UK from a point of view, you know, the buildings and stuff. It was like you're in any sort of city in the UK. And then they have all these like tropical trees, parakeets, like these bin chickens. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
What do you mean a bin chicken? What, a chicken that comes out of a bin?
No, they call it a bin chicken because it's sort of like a chickeny sort of animal. But it like feeds on like human wastes and stuff like pigeons do here in the UK.
Okay. Yeah, like seagulls.
Yeah, like seagulls. But that like people respect these a lot more than seagulls. But yeah, the whole experience has just been overwhelming because it's like there's so much going on. Like there's these things called cicadas, which are like tiny cockroach-looking things, or they're like giant dragonflies in a way. It's really weird. Search them up as well. It's weird. But at night, all you can hear is them making a noise, and like hundreds or thousands of them are just like making this noise. It's so loud, and we've got like nests of birds everywhere. And I've actually just enjoyed sitting in the garden and again just listening to it and just looking at like all the different kinds of nature because it's so weird. It's such a weird place, and it's like nowhere I've ever been before. So and because it's not like a traditional holiday where you're in a hotel, it's like, yeah, have you
seen any kangaroos at all?
I've not seen a kangaroo. We've seen a wallaby. So yesterday we went on like a walk to the Byron Bay Lighthouse, which is super high up. I mean, that was an exercise. And it was like 6:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning, and went all the way to the top of the lighthouse. Then we went down to the beach, and it's like you go from a normal beach to like what looks like something out of Vikings, you know, films, like really rocky shores and big waves. And yeah, there was just this one little wallaby, this one little wild wallaby just going along because there was so many people out. They're quite scared to come out. But yeah, this little wallaby was just doing its thing, and that was such a sort of like, wow, moment, you know, because everyone wants to see that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, you got to take some videos and put it on the stories. You can find Jamie's crazy animals on the Making It Poddy Instagram stories. Put them on the stories,
I'll
bro.
put some on, and I'll put the sunset we got this morning. It was like something out of Oppenheimer. It literally looked like something out of Oppenheimer, mate. It was insane, the sunset. So yeah, I would recommend anyone to come and, you know, come out and just, yeah, just people going fishing everywhere. And you know me, bro, I like eating like a whole fish. Like I'll just cook up a whole fish and just eat the whole thing.
Bro, I didn't know you
Like
that well. I did not know that was a thing you like
you
to
didn't
do.
know that?
Nah,
No,
I
I
didn't know
love
that
it.
was a
When we went
thing
to
you.
Turkey, they had like every day they'd have like a different fried fish, and I just eat the whole thing. You ask Finn Higgins about it; he'll tell you. Shout out to Finn. But yeah, to be honest, I am missing home. I'm looking forward to it. I'm coming to Newcastle like 2 days after landing, so you're gonna have to deal with me being jet lagged, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, I'm going back to uni tomorrow, so I'm
Mm.
going back into my schedule and things. And I've been thinking it's been really nice recently because I've had exams on. Don't get me wrong, but it's been quite chill. And I've almost talking about those sort of emotions. I've almost had a bit of anxiety about going back into the schedule because, and I remember last semester I just found like everything kind of caught up a lot, and I just felt like everything was a rush. I had a lot on my to-do list, so. I'm interested to see how the next semester sort of goes. And, I feel like it's been great, this podcast and what we've been talking about on the episodes and stuff, because I really want to bring that into my life going forwards and my next steps with uni and, going back into my routine and things. And it'd be great to use that as an example in future episodes. But I think the one thing which I really want to make sure is, well, two things really is the idea of slowing things down. And I did a blog about slowing things down, and I think we spoke about it on the last podcast, didn't we? It was our question of the week. So if you want to find our question of the week, you can see it every Saturday. We have it on our socials. You can email your responses. We'll talk about them on the podcast. We have them on the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok. But slowing things down, and I put it on my LinkedIn, the blog, and someone commented, Christopher Kirkland, a really nice bloke. I've spoke to him over the phone before. He offers great advice. He says, slow things down to speed things up. And I really like that because it is that balance of slowing it down and speeding it up. Just because like we spoke about before, you can become lazy by slowing things down. So it's understanding, slow things down to speed them back up. And another thing is, I want to make sure that I'm spending quality time with people who I care about, because I can get caught up in the coaching, or I can get caught up in maybe doing the clips for this podcast or doing my socials on my Instagram and, doing my uni work. And I also just want to really understand that, it's not the time you spend with people, it's the quality of that time. And I know you said earlier, and maybe we can have a debate about it, about not quantifying it. And I understand that, like, in terms of, I don't want to dedicate a certain amount of time to someone, but when you were talking about that, you don't mean the quality, right? Because I do think the quality
Oh no,
of
not
time
the quality.
that you think there's no quality.
What do you
Is that
mean?
what you're
Like
saying? Did you just say you think there's no quality?
no quality is in what?
Like the quality of time with someone, like how good that time is. Because I could be with you for an hour, but we could be on our phones the whole time. Or I could be with you for an hour and we're on a nice walk and we're talking about great things like we are now. That's what I mean in
Yeah,
terms of quality.
yeah. It's not the quantity of time. It's like it's you're not
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
there's because I was saying there's like the quantifying, so
Yeah.
like
Okay. Yeah. So the
putting it
time. Yeah.
into numbers.
Yeah.
So it's almost like qualitative. Do you know what I mean? Like it's about the quality of your experience with someone, whether that be short or long. It doesn't really matter as long as because I've had thousands of hour-long conversation. Well, maybe not thousands, but like a lot. That's
I've
a
been
lot of
around the
hours.
block. I've been around years.
I've been around the block, mate, but not thousands of hours. I've not got hours time, but I haven't been alive for that long. But like, I've got hundreds of examples of times when. Don't ask me to name them all. When like you've been speaking to someone for an hour, and like you can't remember anything. Like you'll just go back to watching your film, and you're like, what did I say to him? Well, I don't even know.
Yeah.
But then there's so many examples where I can say, I've had a 5-minute conversation with someone, 10-minute conversation. I'm like, this has been awesome. Like the quality is just, as you say, the most important thing. But yeah, don't look at the clock when you're on the phone with someone. Do you know what I mean? If you've got somewhere to be, obviously that's different. But if you're just chilling out, don't look at the clock. that, that like this podcast, it naturally ends when it naturally ends, and that's how we like to be, because it's authentic. But yeah, I enjoy speaking to people. We call a lot. I mean, we haven't really called much since I've got here, so this is probably the first proper conversation we've had.
Yeah, it's nice, man.
Which is always the best thing about this podcast, because it is one of the first conversations we have, of the week. So you are getting the most authentic version of us. Obviously, bar the swearing and stuff. I did swear earlier, but Dan's going to tell me off after the podcast, so I'll just brace myself for that. But yeah, this podcast, actually, as much as it is a resource for people that aren't sure what they want to do and are maybe a bit stuck, because that's kind of the situation we're in at times, and that's how we feel at times. This is just as much as a therapy session for me, maybe for you as well. This is what I need, to get things off my chest at the end of the week, whether I'm in this country or in the UK. Like, no matter where I am in the world, we're all human beings, and we all need to get things off our chest. And no matter where you go, these things never go away. It's about how you deal with them. And it's like the Forest result, yesterday. Saturday. I was just like, this is rubbish. But you can use the Forest result in a way.
We lost 5-0, by the way, for context.
I was trying to avoid saying it, but fair enough, Dan. 5-0 we lost. And I remember waking up and my mate text me saying, don't even bother watching the game back. And I'm like, why? I turned my phone off and I was like, I'll watch the game back and see the score live from there. And I was just like, 5-0. But I saw people overreacting, going, this is it, season's over, I can't believe it, this is rubbish. Throwing the toys out of the pram, getting so mardy. And I was just thinking, why can't we appreciate the really good run of form we've been on? And in life you can attribute that to, why can't we appreciate the good things that are happening in our life and accept that little blips come? And also, when those little blips come and it's something that we can control, or for Forest, it's something they can control as players, like in life, we can control the little blips that happen in our life to an extent. It's about how you react, and these people that overreact and are going, oh, this is the end. It may as well be. For them, it may as well be. Like, in my opinion, as much as I love Forest, I would love for these people that overreact to be in a parallel universe where Forest are just crap every week, where their overreaction just manifests into that. Because, that is just not the mentality that you need to have. And I get people get frustrated. And if you've travelled to Bournemouth to go and watch us lose 5-0, you can be frustrated. Like, I get it. Do you know what I mean? I get it completely. But it's about how you react. And those players, for me, for Forest, I've seen this before this season, and they come back and they react. And that's the most important thing. I'm not going to judge you off that one blip or that the couple of blips that you've had. I'm going to judge you on how you react. So that's one thing I want to take. That's one thing I want to take into this week, how we react to these difficult situations. And also I wanted to get in a bit about Forest as well, because I was fuming. And the lads that I'm, my mum's mates' kids that live here, they're Liverpool fans. So yeah, it's been a bit of an annoying one for me. But yeah, reaction. That's something
I think that's a really good thing to say. And I've mentioned it before. It is how you react to things. Because like last week when I spoke about, if you could control your thoughts, you'd be the happiest person in the world. So I think that's a really nice way to draw on towards the end of this podcast. I think it's not necessarily what is going on in your mind, it's more how you react to them. I think that's a really nice takeaway. And another thing which just as we come towards the end of the pod, first of all, I just want to say the reason why my lighting is quite dark is because it's night time here, because Jamie's you're ahead, aren't you? You're ahead about 10, 11 hours. We've had
11 hours,
I'm at night, he's in the morning, so that's why I've been a bit dark. But something I thought about the other day, which I could talk about maybe a bit more in depth next episode, and you can find on our socials. I'll do a video for the Monday and I'll talk about it. It's that idea of, I was thinking, you can be in a good place, but is it your place? I was thinking the other day. Ooh. Because, you could be in a great place in life. You could be earning a lot of money. You could be surrounded by people who are also successful in their own right. But does that place feel real to you? Have a think about that one this week.
Jeez, you like that one, I saw your face like when you were saying that, you were like, woo. God damn, Dan's standing on business. I love that. So I kept looking out the window because there's a guy just going forward and reversing back and forward, and he just jumped out of his car for no reason. Anyway, Yeah, 100%. I think there's been a lot of good takeaways from this week, and I think that we're learning a lot as the podcasts go on. We're learning a lot, and we're also looking out for these signs a lot more as well. But I'll be on the lookout for more stuff this week. I have no idea what I'm doing this week. How exciting is that? I'm going to try and make sure that I set the podcast for the correct time because I have no idea how it's going to work. Because Tuesday 10 a.m. is Monday 11 p.m. in the UK. So if it comes out on Monday 11 p.m., I'm really
That's why,
sorry.
yeah.
But I'm going to set it and take into account the time difference. So it might be a bit weird, but we'll test it and see if it works anyway. But thank you for listening. This is episode 5, Making It podcast. As Dan said, go on our social media, follow us. And if you can, drop us a share as well for some of our stuff and get involved. Anything you want to know or ask, just email us, and we'll take most questions within reason. So, have a great week. We'll see you the Tuesday after. I don't know. It's not next Tuesday. It's the one after that. But if you're listening now, drop us a follow and subscribe on YouTube as well. And we'll see you very soon. Have a good week. See you in a bit.
Take care of
Bye.
yourself, guys. Peace out.